Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and the Bitcoin ideologues are having a very rough time out there. One thing that's unique to the crypto industry is that there are Bitcoin ideologues that are inside of a lot of the crypto companies, and the problem for them is their Bitcoin maxi days. If they're not coming to an end, they need to come to an end. Here's one of them. His name is Jeff Park, head of alpha strategies at Bitwise. He says, listen, I represent a premier crypto firm that manages the world's largest index fund, and I'm telling you that Bitcoin should be the only strategic reserve asset. What else do you need to know? Well, what I need to know is that your CIO is coming to XRP Las Vegas and said this.
I want to hit on the point of the news this week, of course, just yesterday, I believe it was, you guys going into officially filing for an XRP ETF. More around just the topic of why XRP as the next ETF, because many people are looking at all kinds of different assets, especially in the digital sphere. Why XRP?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, can't talk to the specific filing, but can talk to XRP in general. First, I think you've probably heard me say this, we're in the ETF era of crypto. So I think there are going to be ETFs on a wide variety of ETPs. XRP specifically, it has a very vibrant community. It's been around for many years and sustained that community. It has a novel consensus approach that's been working at low inflation rates, and it has interesting and evolving use cases. My general view on crypto, I'm an index investor at heart, right? I come from the sort of index investing side. My general view is we are still in the early stages of crypto, and no one knows exactly how it will play out. And so we want to offer investors access to a wide variety of assets. XRP is one with a strong community and a strong track record and a strong history. There are people with positive views. There are people with negative views. We understand that, but just if we can structure a low-cost, secure way to access that, we think that's an improvement for the market.
Well, and you look at just the news that has been going on with Ripple and XRP beyond the SEC, scenario. Really what they've done from a technology standpoint, but also from a strategy standpoint, a lot of things happening right now. So that's a big kudo for them.
I think that's right. And I think people overlook that. They forget that
I think Bitcoin maxis overlook that.
Established platforms have very smart business development people that are working every day to find new applications. And whether you're talking about, rolling out stable coins in partnership with leading financial firms.
Like Bank of America?
There is a lot to point to on the business.
So anyway, I invited the Bitcoin maxi that is entrenched in Bitwise. I asked him if he would like to come to XRP Las Vegas with Matt Hogan. Here's Matt Hogan. He is coming to Bitcoin Las Vegas. So is Paul Barron and David Schwartz. Phil Kwok. Look, here's Boone Bergsman. Very nice guy. Met him last year. Smart guy, too. Okay, so come to XRPLasVegas.com. It's the same week as Bitcoin Las Vegas. You might see some surprises. Brad Garlinghouse is going to be there. I mean, this is going to be wild. Brad Garlinghouse is doing a fireside chat on stage there for the first time. You can find go to XRPLasVegas.com, or I've got that link in the description. The market is kind of down, which is crazy. We're at 2.7. Folks, if I've ever seen anything that's primed, waiting, that's being manipulated and waiting for all the big boys to finally be able to flood in, it's now. I'll be accumulating. And there's more Bitcoin maxis going crazy. Here is Anthony Pompliano, who understood XRP back in August of 2017, and then somehow he just forgot about it and got to where he didn't understand it. But he instead went and started selling Bitcoin pizzas, which he thought was a great idea. He understands selling Bitcoin pizzas, but he just can't figure out XRP. So he's been activated with the Bitcoin maxis. I guess he got his talking points to start talking about This is not what we...
Now, the big news over the weekend was that President Trump announced his intention to create a crypto strategic reserve for the United States. There's plenty of surprises in the details of how he plans to implement this. But the idea of a crypto-related reserve has been rumored for weeks. Trump posted the following on Truth Social. He said, a U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed the presidential working group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, Solana, and Cardano. I will make sure the U.S. is a crypto capital of the world. We are making America great again. Now, of course, the internet, they exploded in hot takes. They wanted to know, does the crypto reserve actually include Bitcoin or not? Trump's post on Truth Social didn't explicitly name the largest crypto asset. That's wild. Imagine a crypto reserve without Bitcoin in it. But within minutes, Trump posted again to clarify that Bitcoin and Ethereum would be included in the crypto reserve as well. Now, it's important to call out, we don't have all the details on the administration's plan yet. We can only go off of what we've been told, and it'll be crucial that everyone, including me, keeps an open mind until we have more information.
They don't have an open mind. Don't buy that.
But with that said, there's a ton to unpack in this development. So let's start with the historical context. President Trump promised the Bitcoin community that he'd create a strategic Bitcoin stockpile while speaking at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. That happened last year, and the Bitcoin community raised a ton of money for President Trump off of that promise. There was no mention of other crypto assets being included in the reserve. Now, various people will claim that Trump made a promise on the campaign trail, and now he's...
Okay, so you see where they're going with this. Well, and then Bitcoin Desk, they're called CoinDesk, but they're actually Bitcoin Desk. They've been carrying the narrative for years. They're having a rough time too, accepting the XRP reserve, trying to spin a new narrative. Their new narrative is that this is a negotiation. This is how Trump negotiates. He's just throwing out there a bunch of them, and then he's going to let the market decide which one should be included. These people are desperate. Monica Long did a long video yesterday, and it is huge what was said in this video. I'm going to show you the clip. This is the clip that came out from RizXRP. This is the one. Just listen close.
You're a US-based company. There's been a change in administration. Sort of what's your readout now as to what the opportunity looks like in the domestic United States for some of these technologies?
It feels like the floodgates are going to open this year, doesn't it? I mean, so within the past week, a couple weeks, so SOB 121 being called back or rolled back. And I mean, within, it felt like minutes, you hear from CEOs like Bank of America saying, we're all in.
You hear that? She gets a call from Bank of America CEO saying we're all in after that SOB 121 they got rid of that.
And,
I mean, folks.
These are institutions that Bank of America was one of our early partners when we were doing kind of like the messaging software only payment solution. So we've worked with these types of banks for a long time, and the lack of clarity and, I think in the more recent time, even hostility toward, hey, using these assets and this technology is not okay, it's dangerous, which is not the best way to handle it, as we would say. But looking forward, I would say, yes, it seems like there's going to be a sea change this year. And even I could say post-November, the US election result, even just the ongoing conversations we've had with banks around being reserve bank or transaction banking partners for the stablecoin or for our payments business, like the tone and message changed overnight. Like it was quick.
Now, folks, I put this video together, and if you want to understand, what have they said? What did they say to us all these years? Banks will never use XRP. That was their whole thing. Banks will never use XRP. And now, remember that little Ripple lawsuit? Remember the regulatory capture by the SEC? I've always had this theory that somehow JP Morgan caught wind that Bank of America was about to change the game using XRP. And all of a sudden, miraculously, the SEC sues Ripple. all these bad guys that have been trying to poo-poo Ripple and XRP all these years, none of this has been a coincidence. The first part of this clip is Nick Burafedo talking about what Brad Garlinghouse said to him at London Swell a couple of years ago. The second clip is David Strzelecki, who was the financial planner that came out of nowhere talking about Ripple and Bank of America. Then there's a third clip that's Mark Yusko talking about what he's hearing behind the scenes right now about XRP. And then the last clip is part of what Monica Long just said, and it all comes together.
First thing is, I met with Brad Garlinghouse face to face, and Brad was so confident. He's got an air of confidence about him that's unbelievable. I met Brad first in 2019 back in Singapore, and he's even more confident today than he was back then. He made it clear that they're ready to settle with the SEC as long as they can get clarity on XRP. I asked him if American companies were waiting on the sidelines to jump in the game once clarity happens, and he said absolutely. And he specifically said Bank of America. Bank of America is a huge partner of Ripple, and he said Bank of America stands to gain really big when the settlement happens, because they're going to have a huge competitive advantage over their competitors by using ODL in the marketplace. So Brad is very, very bullish.
Talking about another major would be Ripple, XRP. So, the SEC made this very interesting stance against it in January of 21. Bank of America had been utilizing it for 100% of their internal transactions for approximately 2 years, and it was shut down. And so this really efficient system, the second largest coin, now is way back because of how it was regulated. And so that regulator is getting out now, Gary Gensler. And so, and President Trump's met with the CEO of Ripple a couple times. And so I personally think that Ripple is being looked at by the United States as a SWIFT system alternative, as we are looking at digitizing, tokenizing, and Ripple has the ability to kind of be like the internet and be this platform that could be the guardrails of the future where we tokenizing with.
The case for the strategic Bitcoin reserve, because Bitcoin is digital gold, everything else has different roles. Something that could happen, I don't know if it'll happen the first 100 days, Abs, but there's some talk, this will make the XRP people really happy, there is some talk that XRP could be utilized and or ordered to be used for a central bank digital currency, or as the base layer for national banking. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but that's one that, if that does happen, that changes things.
It feels like the floodgates are going to open this year, doesn't it? I mean, so within the past week, a couple weeks, so SAB 121 being called back or rolled back. And I mean, within, it felt like minutes, you hear from CEOs like Bank of America saying, we're all in. And, these are institutions that Bank of America was one of our early partners when we were doing kind of like the messaging software only payment solution. So we've worked with these types of banks for a long time, and the lack of clarity, and I think in the more recent time, even hostility toward, using these assets and this technology is not okay, it's dangerous, which is not the best way to handle it, as we would say. But looking forward, I would say, yes, it seems like there's going to be a sea change.
A sea change, you don't say. Now, Brad Combs interviewed Greg Kidd yesterday, and remember, Greg Kidd was one of the first 10 people at Ripple. Couple of interesting nuggets.
It's amazing because I don't know how many people out here know that you come from compliance. You come from a world of compliance inside the Federal Reserve. So this is a world you're very familiar with. In fact, years ago, you were one of the first people to join Ripple, and you helped get them compliant and get them there. Were you also like the person who introduced them to the Fed because you also came from the Fed? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think it was a 10th person at Ripple, and I did go with Chris early on. to Treasury. I think it was kind of a shocker for Treasury in DC, because they realized, oh my gosh, this is a global, worldwide permissionless chain, and their heads were like spinning by the time we walked out the door. So that's back in the days when we thought we were going to get in trouble for being money. Then we found out, no, we're like a security. Now we're.
And then, by the way, so they were shocked and their heads were spinning. And who ends up on Ripple's board of directors? It was one of the major Treasury people ends up on Ripple's board, right?
For a commodity, it's like
his name was Craig. I'm drawing a blank on his last name. It'll come to me. I'm sure it'll come to me after this video. His name was Craig.
With solid gas. It was one of those exercises. But yeah, in the early days, nobody knew what this was. So we were the first to go to Treasury and explain what this was.
Now, I'm going to finish by showing you this video. Do you remember when I told you, and I don't have sources, but I did get a source one time from somebody that would know, and they said that XRP was created to prevent World War III and to replace the petrodollar. What's Trump trying to do right now? Prevent World War III. And part of preventing World War III is to figure out how to replace the petrodollar. Now listen to this clip.
No, well, this is why I love the idea of a basket of assets, right? And I do mean like gold, oil, and digital assets alike. I mean, it stands to reason that that's the way you would want to go. I had a conversation a long time ago, back in 2019, with David Schwartz, where I was talking with him about, having reserves of all kinds of different assets from all over this sector of, whether it's commodities or alike, really stabilize it. If you could underpin the dollar with all of those things, instead of just an agreement to print more or just a petrodollar agreement, then you really would have the confidence of a dollar for the next 150 years. What say you?
I agree.
That was it.
Folks, you need to understand who this guy is. He just happened to pop up at Coinbase to be an early investor. Just happened to be there. He said he dispatched Jack Dorsey to create Twitter. He's on record from about 2013 saying that we need to I just drew a blank. In 2013 he said we need our US version of WeChat. Now you got the X platform. He dispatched 2 engineers after his bike messaging company. One was Jack Dorsey he dispatched him to create Twitter, and the other engineer went to work on the Ripple protocol. The Everything app, I believe, is going to be a part of this whole transition.
Very tough.
But I mean, you really said it well. I mean, to me, it's just a risk to not take that risk.
Right.
And sometimes the biggest risk you take is not taking a risk at all. I said it in my election.
If Trump is anything, he's a risk taker. Okay, DAIXRP.com to join the Patreon. If you don't want to join it through Patreon, you can join the same group by going to below this YouTube video, click the join button. We do extended videos. I've got a lot more information to cover. We do extended videos with no ads. So if that's your thing, then come on in. That's Brad Combs saying. Here we go. Wait, I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family. Let's go.